What is up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today I have a pretty exciting one for you guys because it is finally time for the Night City Reveal season to start. It starts technically yesterday, but pretty much now. So pretty exciting in general. Gonna be seeing some new card designs as we already have today, or yesterday rather. But yeah, so going to be taking you through kind of the blog post, the Kickstarter update, a new survey that they have, as well as the changes to the card database, and just kind of going over that in general. So hopefully you stick around and let's delve into this together. So obviously the big thing is that the Night City reveals start right now. In the weeks ahead, you'll start to see a lot of brand new cards for the first time. But as we mentioned at the end of last week's article, the beta rule changes are also accompanied by changes to some of their previously revealed cards, especially the ones in the alpha kits. Keep an eye on our cards page to see the latest previews of cards you'll find, and welcome to Night City booster packs. There's already a batch for you to explore right now, and we'll be adding plenty more in the weeks ahead. So a little spoiler to that, there are 2 new cards added there that just weren't before. A couple of the alpha kit cards have been taken off of the database, and a good number of cards that were already on the database have been changed and modified into something else. And as a reminder, we will be going over all that later on in the video. And the kind of other big thing about this update is that interacting in Night City just got quicker. To give you a bit more insight into some of the ways that previously revealed cards have evolved, let's take a look at one of our additions in detail, the introduction of the Quick keyword. Quick is a keyword used to describe effects that can be played in both your main phase and in the react step when a rival attacks. In many cases, Quick has replaced effects that previously carried the timing restriction when a rival unit attacks, like the one on Goro Takamura, Vengeful Bodyguard. And then they have the new version here with the kind of base version of the art for the card. But as you can see, it has the Quick keyword, and then I suppose we'll just go over this card now, where now it's you pay an Eddie and spend him to give a friendly unit with cost 4 or less blocker this turn. If you control a value pair of gigs, also give it +1 power this turn, which is a good change in general, meaning that as long as you have an Eddie up and him as well, any turn that he's up and your opponent is attacking, then you can just use his ability. You don't need to worry about having the same sided gigs or same value pair gigs, so pretty nice. And then also when a friendly unit uses blocker, or essentially kind of when you spend it, redirect an attack to that unit, you may discard 1, and then if you do, you get to draw 1. So very positive change to this legend in general. Definitely one of the more stronger legends, I'd personally say, because it's just any friendly unit with cost 4 or less, as long as you keep 2 Eddies up, which, while that can kind of alter the math a lot, it is still a very good effect for what it is being charged for. And then as they note here, not only does the Quick keyword make Goro's effect more consistent with other similar effects, it also gives players greater flexibility in when they can use effects like this. Goro's previous templating restricted his effects use exclusively to the react step following a rival attack. Now, thanks to the Quick keyword, the ability can also be used in your main phase if you want to utilize the +1 power element of his effect offensively during your turn, for example. And then the other card that they kind of have on display here is the new version of Cyberpsychosis. So it still kind of looks the same, 2 RAM now, 3 cost now, and it's a quick hack, but also has the Quick keyword here. And then its effect is that it gives an equipped unit +3 power this turn, which is 1 more than it did before for each of its equipped gears. And then if that unit steals or fights, you can, defeated at the end of this turn. As I mentioned here, Cyberpunk also gained the quick keyword. Now, instead of familiarizing yourself with when individual cards like Cyber Psychosis can be played, all you need to know is when quick cards can be played, which is very nice on the mental aspect for anyone playing the game, and also makes it easier to learn the game. Once you see that keyword pill, which is kind of what they're calling this little kind of package it's in, I guess you would say, or just kind of format, I guess, that it is in, you'll know exactly what you can do with the card and when. So essentially, quick is this kind of an equivalent to an instant in Magic the Gathering. I know that probably a fair amount of people that are going to be getting into this game at least know how to play Magic the Gathering. But the main thing differentiating quick and instants is that the quick keyword can only really be used on your opponent's turn as a reaction of them attacking with their units, and then also just any time during your turn. So important distinction there if you're kind of crossing over the gap and trying to learn the rules of this. And then they also go on to here, and so it's calling legends. Speaking of timing, one aspect that some players found a little bit intuitive related to calling a legend. Based on their feedback, we've made that quick too. Now your 2 windows to call a legend are during your main phase or in the react step following a rival's attack. The same as all other quick cards and effects. So essentially, as it was before, you can flip a legend whenever on your turn it is possible to do so. And then, as a reaction to your rival attacking. So, pretty nice. Gives you 2 chances on probably by turn 2 when your opponent's attacking you. Playtesters' feedback on Quick has been incredibly positive so far. When a single change increases clarity, which this definitely has, makes gameplay more intuitive, and creates more opportunities for interaction and skill expression, that's a big win from a game design point of view, and I agree with it. It is definitely a very positive change. It really simplifies things to just make the game go smoother in general, and I like it. And then as they end off with here for that section, we've got plenty of cards in Welcome to Night City that utilize Quick, and we really can't wait. Alright, I think that must be an error on their part. It says, and we really can't for you to explore them all. I assume there's supposed to be a wait here, so just kind of read assuming so. So what does this mean for our Alpha Kit cards? Because while this isn't going to be a very broad issue, unless you got an Alpha Kit, which most of you didn't, especially as reflected in their prices being resold on eBay, which don't buy them. Little piece of advice. The game has seen significant evolution since the very first concepts, of which the Alpha Kits were, to ensure accessibility for all and avoid any confusion around card version legality. We have made the decision that following our beta release, your deck cannot contain cards bearing the alpha symbol. And again, that'll be kind of in the bottom left of the card here-ish. There will be in A, and then the number for the Alpha Kit cards. So if it's like that, then you cannot use those cards in the deck unless like your opponent deems it fine and you're just playing a pretty chilled out game. But in tournament play, it is not going to be legal for you to do so. For those of you who do have an Alpha Kit, however, we are very excited. Sorry. We're very excited to share that the Nova Rare Legends, Bora Arasaka, Cyberpunk Patriarch, Kororo Takamura, Hands Unclean, and Yorinobu Arasaka, Embracing Destruction, will all remain legal for tournament play. The beta and retail versions of those cards are functionally identical to their alpha versions, so those without Alpha Kit can easily obtain them in the Embracing Power starter deck. And then, as they note, probably the most exciting part about this whole thing is that the social reveals began on June 9th, which at time of this video coming out should be in 2 days. There's already plenty to explore over on our cards page, which there definitely is, and we will be doing so later. And more reveals will begin rolling out across our Cyberpunk TCG social pages starting on June 9th. So that is when you want to mark it with a big red circle on your calendar, because that's when the fun and excitement begins. Next week, we'll explore some of the tweaks we've made to the visual appearance and accessibility of Cyberpunk TCG cards in beta and beyond. Until then, enjoy the start of reveal season, and be sure to share your opinions with your tunes over on our official Discord at discord.gg/cyberpunktcg. I would recommend that you get on the Discord if you have it. If not, just to find the community, then to kind of, they have an Ask Weirdco section there, where if you're having questions about the game or you just need clarifications, there's that. And then there's also a new kind of section there about the game design questions that you may have. So very useful. And if you are just confused on anything, then that is definitely the best place to go, I'd say, right now, to get clarification on anything that you're puzzled about or just any general questions that you may have. But that's it for this dev blog. Now we'll move over to update number 46 from the Cyberpunk TCG Kickstarter. For the most part, it kind of reiterates the dev blog. Welcome to Night City reveal season officially starts now. Now that the Elf Kit demo period is behind us, we're heading full force into our official reveal season for Welcome to Night City. Expect frequent card drops starting right now. And then they basically tell you to check the article and what you can expect there. And they are also celebrating reveal season on the Cyberdeck podcast, where in episode 11, Kawa and Berza have invited the latest addition to the Weird co-marketing team, Steve LD George, to celebrate the beginning of reveal season and chat about the first wave of Welcome to Night City spoilers. Expect fun debates with a focus on deck building in Cyberdeck episode 11, premiering on YouTube today. It is also the longest episode that we have had so far, clocking in at about an hour and a half. And while I won't spoil it for you, it is generally a fun episode to just listen to if you're driving somewhere or if you're working out, say, and you have nothing kind of better else to listen to than just some music or whatever, then I definitely consider popping this on, because, yeah, it's fun to listen to, and it is also very intriguing and nice to kind of hear the thought process behind actual people that work there and kind of how they go about things and go about thinking about things, and just would recommend the Cyberdeck podcast in general. There's also a new survey. There's the art reveal spotlight for Bootleg Black Sapphire Show from the Phantom Liberty DLC, and then the Wraith Marauders art reveal for the card. And they also have a community spotlight to KP for his video about the new rules, and beckoning you to check that out. But moving back to the survey, it is about kind of your engagement, I guess would be the right word for it. How often do you play TCGs in person outside of organized events? Where do you most commonly play TCGs in person? How important is having a regular in-person play group to your enjoyment of the game? Do you play any digital versions of TCGs? How does your digital TCG play compare to your in-person play in terms of time spent? What do you primarily use digital TCG platforms for? How much does a strong digital platform influence your decision to engage with the TCG? And what would most improve your overall experience across both in-person and digital play? So definitely, if you have the time, which should only take about 3 to 5 minutes to fill this out, I would ask that you do so, just so that Weirdco has a lot more kind of info to go on, and just more information to make better decisions for the game for all of us as well. But moving on to the card database finally, and immediately, I'm sure if you've been kind of keeping up on it, you can see a change to the art of V Street Kid, Roy Cycle on the Edge. Yorinobu also has his the Nova Rare version in there. For V Street Kid, the beta version also has the female version of it, the art there that I'll show off. Carrie Uridine, the Last Rocker Boy, has had a couple of stats change, and I'm sure you can see them as I go through with V Street Kid, Carrie Uridine, Meredith Stout. Also, But Our Own has been changed as well. Dum Dum, River, Hanako, Caliber has also had a change. Atom Smasher has gone to 6 Yellow Ram instead of the 5 that he was at just before. Gorilla Arms has also changed. Cyberpsychosis, as we went over before. They have also changed the art on Goro Takamura, Hands Unclean. We also went over Goro Takamura, Eventual Bodyguard earlier in the dev blog article, but that's changed too. Panam's been nerfed a bit, or just changed up. The Writing Nomad has been changed, and I'll actually kind of go over this one specifically because there's the new keyword of adrenaline that's been added. Writing Nomad is now a 5-cost unit for 4 power, and it has the keyword of adrenaline. And adrenaline is just this unit can attack the turn it's played. Straight up. Units, stealing gigs, doesn't matter. Second you play it, or the turn you play it rather, you can attack with it. Definitely something to be intrigued about and to be kind of tested around. But that's also a bit of an update that they don't particularly go over. Wraith Marauders is one of the new cards that's been revealed as well. It is a 5-cost unit for 4 power, and when this unit steals a gig, ready another friendly unit with power equal to the gig's value. So that's one of the new ones. Be taking a closer look at that later on. Alt Cunningham is actually usable now. If you watched my color power rankings video, you'll know that I'm not exactly too high on the previous version of this legend, but now it is definitely a lot better. We'll be taking a closer look at that card later as well. Evelyn Parker, Beautiful Enigma, has had the art as well as her functions or abilities changed. Jackie Wells have the Nova Rare version of him here. And then the increase has been turned into a decrease here. They have also revealed another card of Modded Kusanagi, which is a 6-cost unit for 8 power with adrenaline, and then at the end of your turn, return this unit to its owner's hand. And then that is it. And if you have been kind of following up with this and have keen eyes, you'll notice that there are only 34 cards in the database now, and that is because a lot of the off-kit cards have just been taken off of it. But now we'll be going into the more specifics of the changes and really kind of digging deep into each card and their changes. So to start us off, we have the Street Kid, as I was going over just before. But I have the older version and the new version of the card here, along with the changed art. The defeat effect has been moved to his call effect, or to a call effect. Trash 3, then add 1 Brain Dance program from your trash to your hand, which kind of makes you want to play him, or flip him rather, later in the game, him or her, depending on the versions that's played. It is also now a 5-cost unit to go solo and is 6 power, which still isn't exactly the best rate, but definitely a lot better than the 4 for 3 that we had before. And then, obviously, as I mentioned before, the defeat has been moved to the call, and this is generally just a very good and positive change for this card. And yeah, while it's still not the best, definitely a lot better than it was before. The next card, as I also kind of mentioned is Kyurigurine, the Last Rocker Boy. He is still the same cost. However, his RAM has been lowered from 2 to 1, and his power has been increased from 3 to 5. And with the old version, you can spend him if you have a gig at max value and then draw 2 cards. But with this new version, you spend him if you control a gig with 8 plus value and then also draw 2 as well. Definitely a nerf to this card, because if you had the old version of Jackie Wells, you could just roll the d4 and then odds on by the time you played Carrie, it would just be very easy to spend him and draw the 2. Although at this point, he's also, when he is spent, is a bit tougher, so he'll be able to stick around longer. So that part is definitely better, because now that the kind of threshold to even use his ability is harder to reach, you're going to want to keep him around longer based off that. Although, at least in my opinion, this is still a negative change for him, but it is not too bad of a change for him. But moving on to the next one, we have Meredith Stout Stone Cold Corpo. The art is still mainly the same, just the text box is a bit bigger now. Still 4 cost to play, but as well with this card, the RAM has been lowered from 2 to 1. Initially, she had 3 power, now she has 5 base power with a possible buff to it as well. And the old version was when a rival decreases the value of 1 or more friendly gigs, you may choose a card from your trash and add to your hand. Now this card has blocker, meaning it can either block or attack, which initially is very good because, as I keep raving on about, there are not exactly a lot of cards with blocker. So definitely a welcome upgrade to her, both in pretty much every sense of the card. This unit also now gets +2 power while fighting a legend, so pretty good against Go Solo kind of standard decks, or just anyone that has Go Solo in it. As well, it's just will trigger more often when you're using her as a blocker, but if your opponent has, say, Goro Takamura, Vengeful Bodyguard, I believe it is, it's the one that costs 5 and has 7 power as well as blocker. That card and Meredith Stout will trade now, so that is also pretty good. And when a rival adjusts or swaps 1 or more friendly gigs, you may add a card from your trash to your hand. So kind of cleaned up the text, but now instead of just when a rival decreases the value of 1 or more friendly gigs, it's been changed to just adjust, and then also added as swaps 1 or more friendly gigs. I'm not entirely sure about the specification of the swap. I think it's just when they take 1, but that is something that I'm not entirely sure on, and something that if you want more clarification, you could also pop in the Discord and ask Weirdco about it, and someone either in the community or one of the Weirdco or Weird Crew team should get back to you relatively quickly about it if you really want to know. Generally, very good change for this card. Probably a B on the grade now. Yeah, definitely just great change in general to it. But a more kind of sideways change is to El Sombrerón La Venganza Lenta. In his old version of the card, he only costs 4, he now costs 1 more to play. Still the 4 RAM, still the 4 base power. The old version was on the attack while fighting a rival unit. You get to double this unit's power. On the new version, though, he is still an attack trigger, but now you may pay 2 eddies, and then if you do, this unit gains power equal to a friendly max gig this turn, which for red, which wants its gig super high, isn't probably going to be the hardest to get to, and can be a very strong ability. So let's say you get really lucky on a d12 roll, you roll a 12, right? You already played this card last turn because you were thinking about maxing a d8, which already would be pretty strong. But now it is just 2 eddies to max him, or to give him a buff of 12 power, which is very, very good. Obviously, this is going to require some setup, and it's just kind of harder to jump through in general. But I think this is a slightly good change, one that is definitely going to have to be more tested. But I could definitely see this not really breaking the card necessarily, but just catapulting it up on kind of the power rankings of units in general. And then, as I previously mentioned, some cards have been removed from the database, namely the alpha cards. As you can see, that all have the A sitting there. And then, as they won't be playable anymore in your deck, I believe that is why they have been removed. I'm sure that there will be new versions of the cards, maybe just non-alpha kit cards now, or just kind of changed around. I'm not entirely sure. But Ruthless Low Life has been removed. Swordwise Hustle has been removed. Armored Minotaur has been removed. Mantis Blades is gone. Satori is gone. And Industrial Assembly is also gone as well. But moving on to yellow now, the first card we have to go over is Dum Dum Maelstrom Triggerman. Definitely a positive change in general form. Still, obviously, not a Go Solo Legend, just the 1 to flip. Still provides 2 yellow RAM. All of the legends still provide 2 RAM of their color. One thing I will note, though, is I'm not sure if this is still kind of the iconic alt variant of him, or if that's being changed up, or if he even still has the iconic art variant to him. I would assume so, but that is not something I can give you an answer to 100% confidently, and so I will not. But with the old version, it was just a call effect where you may defeat a friendly gear if you do draw 4, otherwise draw 1. Now that has been nerfed, still a call effect, but you may defeat a friendly gear if you do draw 2, otherwise draw 1, which I think is a bit harsh. I think 3 is kind of the happy medium there. Unless you're defeating like a Kurochi Optics, which is just absolute garbage anyways and would rather be sold. I don't really see a lot of people using this effect unless they really need the card. I still think that it should be higher. Like I said, 3 is I think where this should be. But still not bad, because he now also has a quick ability where you may pay 1 Eddy and spend him to give a friendly unit +1 power this turn for each of its equipped gear. Very good, kind of branching into Royce's territory there. But obviously this can be used offensively or defensively. Just in general, a very strong ability and exactly the type of buff that you want to see on a card like this. No longer is he just gonna, once flipped, sit in your legend zone and do kind of nothing. Yeah, very strong effect for yellow decks, obviously, which wants to equip a bunch of gear to its units and specializes in gear specifically. Just generally a very good change to this card, with the little side note of the card draw that we talked about just before. The other legend, or another legend rather, that has been changed in yellow is River Ward Detective on the Hunt. Still not a Go Solo Legend, just the 1 to flip. 2 yellow RAM, sure power. He has lost his call effect, where when you did call him, you would draw a card. His old ability, though, is when a unit attacks you, spend him, or you could spend them, to choose a gear from your hand with cost 2 or less. Equip it for free to a friendly yellow unit with no equipped gears. Now it's changed. It is a quick ability now to kind of simplify it. Also, you can use it on your turn as well. And it is also just spend him to play a gear with cost 2 or less from your hand for free. And that's it. There's no hoops to jump through. It's just spend him, play a gear with cost 2 or less from your hand for free. And that's it. That is a very kind of positive change, I think. And then also, when a friendly unit or a friendly equipped unit is defeated, you search the top 2 cards of your deck and trash 1. Don't have a say in that. And it's not search the top 2, draw 1, trash 1. It's just search the top 2 and trash 1. I can see that being good in some part, being a drawback in some. I will say, while this is more kind of a medium change, I think this is generally going to turn out to be more positive for him. Just being a little bit cautious on the initial thoughts. But in general, I like the changes to him. Also simplifies it a lot with the reduction of the hoops to jump through. So now we will move on to yellow units. First off, we have Hanako Arasaka in a Gilded Cage. Still kind of looks the same. Just, again, with the unsuredness of this still being the iconic art version of the card, and mainly just being like a borderless version of it. Could be changed, and I'm not going to give you a 100% answer on it. This unit is now 1 more cost to play, and also has 1 power now, meaning that you can play her in any deck, and if you attack with her and she hits the gig dice zone, she will steal a gig now, which can definitely be pretty impactful. And she still has the play effect of search the top 4 cards of your deck, but now you may reveal any number of cards with cost equal to any friendly gig values and add them to your hand, bottom deck the rest. Where with the old version, it was then choose a friendly gig, add all cards with cost equal to that gig's value to your hand, trash the rest. So instead of trashing your bottom, decking them, which could be easier or harder to get to, currently unsure on that. But it's just reveal any number of cards with cost equal to any friendly gig values and add them to your hand. More what yellow wants with having the differing gig values. So you're also going to be able to hit more cards than you would have previously. And just so while it still needs to be tested, again, I'd say generally a positive change to this card in general. Another unit that has been changed, though, is Caliber Totentanz's Top Dog. She's still 5 to play, but now she's only 2 RAM, whereas before she was 4. So as long as you're playing a yellow legend, and you can now play her in your deck as opposed to before, where you had to be playing 2 yellow legends to play her in your deck. Her power has also been nerfed by 1. It's now 5 where it was 6, but now she has a play ability where you defeat a rival unit with cost 2 or less. So got a little bit of removal stapled on now, and then the defeated effect is still the same, just kind of cleaned up a little bit with the wording, where a rival discards 1. If that card's cost equals the value of a friendly gig, that rival discards 1 more. Obviously, as you're playing yellow, you're going to want to have more gig dice spread out, but it will still be reliant on your opponent and their kind of choice to discard that will reach the threshold for the additional aspect to that ability. And I still have my gripes with that card, or rather with that effect. But the play ability now, being small removal spell, is also very nice, and also focuses on the cost specifically. So should be able to hit a lot more than it would if it was just based on the power. But another yellow unit that's been changed is Atom Smasher Metal over Meat. Again, same thing with this being the iconic rare. Unsure if it still is or will be. Likely so for all of the ones before. but I ain't going to give you an answer unless I have it 100%. That is just speculation at this point. The card is in pretty much all essence the same, except now instead of 5 yellow ram, he is 6 yellow ram, meaning you're going to have to play 3 yellow legends to be able to put him in your deck. And maybe further on down the line, when there's dual colored ram legends, where they'll have like a pip of yellow and a pip of green, you'll just have to play 3 with the 2 yellow ram that they provide for future considerations, but shouldn't matter in the first set. But Gorilla Arms has also been changed. It is still 4 costs to play. The ram value has been decreased from 4 to 3. Been seeing a fair amount of cards with their ram's value decreased by 1, so just something to point out. It also now only provides a 3 power buff instead of a 4 power buff that it used to do. And now the first time this unit steals 1 or more gigs each turn, steal a rival gig with a value not shared by a friendly gig. So changed up, pretty much the opposite of what it was. But with the old one, it was the first time this unit steals a gig each turn, you may steal a rival gig with the same number of sides, which I like this change because that feels more in line with Green's identity and them wanting to have the same values or same sided gig dice and focusing on that. And then this one now being with more in line with Yellow's values of it being a different value or wanting different gig values. So positive change in general, I'd say. Also a lot easier to trigger now. Kind of inversely, this will be worse against Green now, but it shouldn't be the biggest problem because I imagine you're not going to be running into too many purely green decks or just decks kind of focusing on the same. But again, this is probably going to be a card that you're not going to want the max of 3 in, likely just the 2 still. But in general, a positive change in my opinion. And then Cyberpsychosis, we already went over this, costs 1 more, only needs 2 yellow ram now though, so you only have to be playing 1 yellow legend to be able to play this. And then the quick give an equipped unit plus 3 power, which is 1 more than it was before, this turn for each of its equipped gears. If that unit steals or fights, which if you are playing it on a rival unit, after the attackers are declared, it will, and then you will defeat it at the end of this turn. So it's still removal for your opponent's units, but now it is very costly, where it gives them plus 3 power now. Definitely more in line to be used to pump up your unit specifically rather than your opponent's. The extra cost, also something to note. There's no kind of weird additional spending requirement here though, where it would be more to play on your opponent's turn and just been simplified with the quick keyword. And then also you don't straight up defeat the unit at the end of this turn. It is when a unit steals or fights defeated at the end of this turn. So you could, let's say you're playing Carnage at the Coliseum, right? You need your unit to have more power than the rival unit that you want to defeat to be able to play it. Definitely a bit of synergy between the two, but in general, I'd say this is a worse off change. Definitely, yeah, more kind of based on pumping up your units now rather than your opponents to remove them, as I said already. And just, while it's still fine, I think it kind of falls back on the power that it had a little bit as a result. Also, the art kind of changing to be more zoomed out, if that is something that you particularly care about, with the text box being more lean and having more room for the arts. Yellow cards that have been removed from the database include the Secondhand Bombus, T-Bug, notably Jackie Wells, Ride or Die Tomb, who I expect to come back in a much weaker state than he was in previously. Kuroshi Optics Mandibular Upgrade, which is another big one to note, and I hope they kind of keep the same, but likely won't. After Party at Lizzie's, as well as Reboot Optics, are all off the database now. Moving on to green now, we have Goro Takamura Vengeful Bodyguard, which we went over before. Has the quick pay 1 Eddie, spend him, give a friendly unit with cost 4 or less blocker this turn. If you control a value pair of gigs, also give it +1 power this turn. Can be used to buff up your creatures when attacking, or as normally when you're defending. And then when a rival unit uses blocker, you may discard 1 if you do draw 1. As I went over already, very positive change for this card. Then moving on to the nerf of Panem Palmer Nomad Cavalry. Initially, she had the call effective ready this legend, does not anymore. And with her old version, it was when a friendly unit attacks, spend her, choose a gear from this legend and equip it to that unit. If you do, ready that unit. Now it is 2 eddies and you have to spend her. So 3 eddies in total that you're losing out on to activate her effect. And move a gear from this legend to an unequipped friendly unit. So if a unit is already equipped, now you cannot equip a gear to it as well. Kind of putting the hoops that River had on her, or kind of transferring them over. And then if you do, ready that unit. So you can still have the kind of double attack possibilities by using her ability as you did before. And then at the end of your turn, if 5 or more friendly units and or legends are equipped, ready them, which is very nice. If you give a card blocker and you attack with it, then you will be able to defend with it as well. And if you have eddies on your legends in the legend zone, which you're going to want to be doing for Panem as well already, then you have more access to more eddies on your opponent's turn, and that in general is very nice. I still think this is a nerf, but that second ability can also be very kind of strong if you work around that. And I still think she's good, but I don't think she is sitting as the crown jewel of the best legend of the game anymore. Riding Nomad, as we already went over as well, has been changed. 1 less to play now, 1 less Eddie, 1 more Ram, so 4 green Ram now to play. Still have to play 2 green legends to put in your deck. Has been nerfed on the power side from 6 to 4, and then whereas previously this unit could only attack spent rival units the turn it's played, now it just has Adrenaline where it can attack rival units or go to try and steal some gigs. While I think that could be strong, I think this is just a nerf in general. The power nerf is already, or was already kind of rough, and now it's worse. And unless this is kind of where, in a situation where you really need to have like that 1 extra unit, then I don't think this is going to be that worth it. But moving on to one of the first new cards revealed with Wraith Marauders that we went over before. Going over again, it is a 5 cost unit with 2 green Rams, so as long as you're playing a green legend, you can play this card. Has 4 power, and when this unit steals a gig, ready another friendly unit with power equal to the gig's value. Personally, I don't think this is a good card. I think it's like a D, because it is going to require gig manipulation of your opponent's side, and then having a friendly unit that you even want to ready up again could be good in the right circumstances, but I think those circumstances are too hard to reach to give this anything better than that. So maybe I could have my mind changed on this, but initially just not too hot on it. And then with the green cards removed from the database, we have the Alpha Kit cards of Corporate Security, Urgency Atlas, Goro Takamura losing his way, as well as the Sandev San and Corporate Surveillance. But moving on to the final color now with blue, we have Alt Cunningham Soul Killer Architect, where, as I have mentioned before, her old version, in my opinion, was pretty much unusable. I think it was one of the 3 cards that I gave an F tier to in my color power rankings, which I still stand by. But no longer is she a Go Solo legend. She's now just one that's going to sit there and have her abilities. The first one of which you may spend her, and the next program you play this turn, you can do so for 1 less eddy for each friendly minimum gig to a minimum of 1 gig, meaning it's still going to cost you at least 1 gig to play an eddy, but in general, for it just being her that you tap down, it is a very strong effect in blue, especially because you already want minimum gigs. And then the fact that you only spend her, meaning you're only losing out on 1 eddy, and even if you only have 2 minimum gigs, that is still a positive trade there. And then you can also pay 1 eddy and spend her to play a program from your trash and then bottom deck it after you play it, although you still pay its cost. So pretty much spending 2 eddies to give a program in your trash flashback, if that kind of rings the bell for Magic the Gathering. Except now it goes on the bottom of your deck after you play it, which is a bit interesting, because then you still kind of get some access to it, possibly. Likely not, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of kind of tutor or just shuffle effects. I don't think there will be in general, but I really like this card now. I think it's very versatile with the cost reduction, and then also just being able to kind of double up on playing a program. I do have a question, though, of if the cost reduction still applies. I would imagine it does, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And in general, I'd say this is probably one of the more powerful legends now, if not just on equal footing with all the others. But I would lean more towards her being one of the more powerful legends, just based on that she has 2 very powerful abilities, and they are not really given any hoops to jump through in general. Just spend her for cost reduction, or pay an eddy and spend her, and you gain the ability to play a program from your trash. I think it is very good, and I think if she stays the same, you're going to be seeing a lot of her when the game releases, or comes out rather, in a couple months now. But with her rise comes Evelyn Parker's fall. Evelyn Parker, Beautiful Enigma, still not a Go Solo legend. With her old effect, she had a call effect of decrease her rival gigs value by 3. That is now gone. And initially, you could spend her to search the top 3 cards of your deck for up to 1 Brain Dance program. Apologize. But now her effect is when a friendly Corpo or Ganger unit steals 1 or more gigs, ready 1 eddy. Pretty sure it is just one of the sold cards and not one of your legends. Or no, because the legend still has the eddy ability, so you can probably ready up a legend as well, which if you're running legend like Alt Cunningham could be pretty good if you can find a way to get double cost reduction or even more, because it's when a friendly Corpo or Ganger unit steals 1 or more gigs ready and eddy, you can space out your attacks. So let's say your opponent has no blockers, you have 2 Corpo units, you can tap Alt Cunningham to get some good cost reduction for a program. You can then swing with a Corpo unit, ready up Alt, and then tap her and play that program again from your trash, and then maybe swing with the other Corpo unit, and then get cost reduction on another one. So I can see these 2 being a very good synergistic combination. And then you can also pay 1 Eddie and spend her, and a rival unit must attack next turn if it can. So just kind of goad a rival unit, which will work better with cards like Carry Urdine, or if they don't change it, the older, or the Elf Kit version. I forget if she was or wasn't, but the old version of the unit version, rather, sorry, of Evelyn Parker. I still think this is a nerf initially, but again, this card could be good. I will need to see a bit more, or like play test it a bit more, but I don't know. This could be more like a sideways change or buff. Definitely one that I'm going to be keeping my eye on, though, as time goes on, just to see kind of how this pans out and really affects her playstyle, and just if it is a good one. But moving on to Jackie Wells pouring out for me. Just one change here, where initially it was increase the friendly gig by 2. The English has been, or the wording rather, has been tidied up, and then it's been changed to decrease. So still, the first time you play a blue unit or blue gear each turn, you may decrease now a friendly gig by up to 2. If it becomes a min gig, draw 1. So you still need to change the gig, and then if it is the minimum, now you draw 1 instead of it being the maximum. Still not too hot on this card, but at least now it kind of feels like a blue card instead of a red one, and advances blue's game plan. Not really much to go else over except for that. The other new card revealed was the modded Kusanagi, as I mentioned before. 6 cost unit with 8 power, only 2 blue ram. So as long as you're playing a blue legend, you can play this card. Tiger Claws and vehicle subtype. And this card also has Adrenaline, where this unit can attack the turn it's played, whether that be a unit or to steal a gig, doesn't matter, it can attack. And then at the end of this turn, return this unit to its owner's hand. I definitely need to see a lot more, or like just more cards that could be synergistic with this before I really get like a final opinion on it. Initially though, I don't like it too much, mainly just because 6 cost, or just having to repeatedly pay 6 for this, is pretty steep in my opinion. But maybe it's good. Maybe it has some combos with more cards that come out that we don't know about yet. But right now, yeah, not too hot on the card, or just either of the revealed cards, to be honest. But I do like, for the most part, what I am seeing from all the balance changes. And then the blue cards removed from the database include Lucina Kushinada, Fresh Beginnings, the Nova promo version that you get if you supported the Kickstarter at all, the unit version of Evelyn Parker Scheming Siren that I noted earlier in the blue section, Delamine Cab also off, as well as the Flathead, Dying Knight, and Floret are all off the database. But that brings us to the end of today's video. Great changes in general, great news in general. Can't wait to see more cards and go over them with all of you. And I would like to thank you for watching to the end of this video. And I would hope and wish that you have a great rest of your day. And for my closing question is, are you excited for the World Cup? I'm personally not too into football or soccer, whichever you pronounce it or say it as, but obviously it is a very big event, and just curious, which team are you supporting? Are you even going to watch it at all? Yeah, just would love to hear your thoughts about that. or just your opinions about anything I went over in the video in general. So make sure to leave a comment below about anything about such. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you liked or subscribed. Keeping that to the end, because I know how annoying it is to continuously be hearing that over and over, but with it being at the end, you can just kind of X out now if you really want to. But yeah, that brings it to the end. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and peace out, chooms. Ciao.